All right, let's see if we can knock out this group work for Chapter 17. Again, we're talking about activity-based costing. And in activity-based costing, we try to find activities that share like drivers and then put them into activity pools so that we don't have to apply so many activity rates. Here we're talking about Sarah Salsa. It produces condiments in two types, has extra fine salsa for restaurant customers, and then family style salsa for home use. Salsa is prepared in Department 1 and then packaged in Department 2. The activities, overhead costs, and drivers associated with the two manufacturing processes, company's production, are right through here. So here's where they're talking about having two departments, and then they also have some support. But they're telling us what activities are happening in the factory as well, and what activity bases they have. So here's our total overhead cost coming through. It looks like we have this much for Department 1, this for Department 2, and this for support. And what they're doing, and then we have additional product information, how many units produced of extra fine, how many batches are run, basically what the activity driver numbers are. The first thing that they're asking us to do is to figure out what a plant-wide overhead rate is based on the number of cases. So that's the first thing they're asking us to do. And if you think about that, I've opened up Excel just so that we can at least see some of the calculations. Let me see if I can extend it out here just a little bit, just so you can see some of the math that gets involved in it. If we're looking at the plant-wide overhead rate, remember that we need to take all of the overhead cost and we need to divide it by some activity driver, right? That's really what we're talking about. Well, we know how to find the cost. We're just going to add those three numbers together. But it says that it wants us to assign it based on the number of cases. So we're going to assign this rate based on the number of cases. And you'll see here that we know how many cases there are. It's 120,000 cases. So what we really need to do, we'll just go ahead and do the math here. I gotta roll back up. It gets a little bit difficult to do this on a small screen, but it's the only way I can keep the resolution clear for you. So we're going to take the 128,250 plus the 268,000 plus the 182,000. We're going to sum all those things up. You see that math there, and then we're going to divide that by the 120,000 cases. See, there's 100,000 of family and 20,000 of extra fine. So we're going to divide it by the 120,000. And that tells us that we have a plant-wide rate of 4.82. You'll see here that it asks us to round our answer to 2 decimal, and that's it. I mean, that's really all there is to doing a plant-wide rate. You just take the total cost divided by your activity driver, and you've got it done. 482 a case is what plant-wide looks like. And then it says, using the plant-wide overhead rate, determine the total cost per unit for the two products if the direct materials and direct labor cost is $6 per case for extra fine and $5 per case for family style. Okay, well, so what's the total cost for extra fine? Well, if it's $6 of direct material and labor, we have to just add in the overhead for that. So plus 6 plus 4.82 is what we're looking at. So it looks like we're going to have, what, $10.82 then for the extra fine. Let me go plug that in, 10.82 there. And then if family styles, direct material and direct labor is $5, then obviously it's just $1 less. That should be $9.82 for the family style. So $10.82 a unit for extra fine and $9.82 a unit for family style. So if the market price of extra fine salsa, so now what we're trying to figure out is, are we going to make a profit or a loss if it costs these amounts and we sell them for a certain amount? So it's saying if extra fine salsa, that's the one that cost us $10.82, sells for $18 per case, and the market price of family style salsa is $9 per case, determine the gross profit per case for each. Well, I can already tell you we got a problem with family style, but when it comes to the extra fine up there, if we're selling it for $18 and we'll take away its cost, so $18 minus the $10.82, that sounds like we're probably making a profit, right? And it sounds like we're on the high side of that. So we've got a profit of 718 there, but the family style, we obviously are going to have a loss, right? Because it costs us 982, but they're telling us that we can only sell it for 9. So that's going to be a loss of 82 cents. I'm going to put a negative in there just for illustration. It doesn't say do it, but it certainly won't hurt it. I think check my work will certainly still work. So we're going to make money on extra fine. We're going to lose money on family style if we use the plant-wide rate. All right, what might management conclude then about the family style salsa product line? Well, I think we would probably conclude that we would need to eliminate it. We don't want to lose money on stuff, but again, that's going to be based on the plant-wide rate. So let's move on down, and next we're going to get into activity-based costing. Obviously, I'm going to need to go ahead and widen this out. This is a pretty wide one here. Let's go ahead and bring it out. And I'm going to try to make this just a tad bit smaller, and as looks like I'll be able to scroll over as we get there. I don't want to make it too small so that you can't see it because I don't know what monitor you're working on. So using activity-based costing, we want to compute the total cost per case for each product type if the direct labor and direct material cost $6 per case of extra fine, $5 per case of family style, it's the same thing. So they're asking us to group things into these activity pools. Basically is what we're trying to get down to, is these are the activity pools that we're looking at. Look, they've put mixing and cooking together. But if we look at the required information, you'll see that mixing and cooking were two completely separate activities. So we're going to group those together. Product testing is still by itself, machine calibration still by itself, but we've grouped labeling and defects together. And then it looks like they want us to, we're going to keep recipe formulation alone, heat, lights, and water still alone, and material handling is still by itself as well. So what we need to do is, first they're asking us just to put the overhead cost in here for these things. Well, mixing and cooking, if we just need the overhead cost for those things, they just got to add it together. 11,250 plus the 4,500 is 15,750. Okay, and then it says based on what activity? Well, it's based on 1,500 machine hours, right? Clearly, they're both based on 1,500 machine hours, and that's the same 1,500 machine hours. Don't get that mixed up. A lot of people want to put 3,000 there. It's still only working for 1,500 machine hours. It's not working double that time. Product testing, it looks like the cost there is $112,500, and it's going to be based on 600 batches. The machine calibration looks like it's going to be $250,000, and it's going to be based on 400 runs. The labeling and defects, if we look over here, we got to add together the 12,000 and the 6,000, so 18,000, and it's going to be based on 120,000 cases. Okay, recipe formulation down here, 90,000, based on 45 focus groups. Scroll this down just a little bit. We've got heat, lights, and water, 27,000. And that's based on the same 1,500 machine hours. And then material handling is going to be 65,000 based on 8 container types. Okay, that's all we're doing. We just added up the cost, put them into the pools. The next step, if you recall, was to figure out what the activity rate for each was going to be. Well, I'm going to go ahead and move this out of the way for just a second. We'll actually just take it away. So it's the activity rate. Well, how do we figure out the activity rate? Well, if I recall, we take the total cost divided by the activity driver. Well, there's the cost, and there's the activity driver. So if we take 15,750 divided by 1,500, we get an activity rate of 1050. If I take 112,500 divided by 600 batches, I get 187.50. We're just dividing this out. 250,000 divided by the 400 runs is going to be 625. 18,000 divided by 120,000 cases is going to be 15 cents per case. 90,000 divided by the 45 groups is going to be 2,000 per group. 27,000 divided by 1,500 machine hours is going to be 18 per machine hour. And then 65,000 divided by the 8 container types is going to be 81.25 per container type. Okay, well, that seemed pretty easy. And then we kind of get over to where we need the activity drivers. Now we're looking for the activity drivers because now we need to multiply this $10.50 back out by the activity driver for this group. What are they talking about here? We'll just pull up the required information again. Talking about the mixing and cooking, it says what is the activity driver that we're dealing with there. So mixing and cooking looks like it's based on the machine hours, and if we come down here and look, it says that for the machine hours for extra fine is 500 and the actual machine hours for family style is 1,000. Oh, okay. Can we use that information that way? Sure enough, this is for extra fine. Let me pull up that required information again. Machine hours for extra fine, the actual, what we actually use is 500 machine hours. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to move this out of the way a little bit. It kind of gets funky when you try to do this. I'm going to see if we can have it open at the same time. So extra fine, mixing and cooking, based on machine hour, 500 machine hours. Okay. The product testing for extra fine, there are 200 batches. Machine calibration was based on a run. I'm going to move that just a little bit. There we go. You can see that a little bit better. It was based on the number of runs, and it looks like there are 200 runs for extra fine. We're basing it on cases for labeling and defects, and it looks like there's 20,000 cases. Then we're looking for the number of groups for extra fine. There were 30. We're looking for, again, the machine hours. We already know that's 500. It was right here. And then we're looking for the number of types, container types. It looks like there was 5. So it went ahead and did some math for us right here, but what are they looking at for this overhead assigned? We're just taking the activity driver times the activity rate. So now if we take the 1050 times this 500, we get 5250. If we take the 18750 times the 200 batches, we're going to have 37,500. And then they went ahead and figured out the rest of them for us. That was nice of them, right? So then we come over and we're going to start looking at the family style. Let's see if we can pull that up again. So family style here, got to get it back in the right place. There we go. So for family style, if we're looking for machine hour, here it is, 1,000 machine hours for family style. I want to make sure you see that. So we've got 1,000. The number of batches looks like it was 400. The number of runs is still going to be 200. The number of cases was 100,000. The number of groups you'll see were 15. The number of machine hours, again, 1,000. And then the number of container types was 3. Okay. So we filled out the whole chart, and you'll see what happens. Based on this activity-based extra fine, it looks like we're going to assign cost of $280,375 for extra fine, $297,875 for family style. But then it says, how many units did you produce? Well, we know that. It was 20,000 cases for extra fine and 100,000 cases for family style. So 20,000 there, and then 100,000. So it says, all right, if you did 20,000 units at a cost of $280,375, what's your overhead cost per unit? I'm just gonna let's pull this over here just a little bit. So didn't want to do that. So we can see it in Excel. So it says, what's your overhead cost per unit? Well, let's look at that. I am not far enough over. I've got to get there. Sorry, it's being a little crazy on me. Well, we can work it out. You know what happens. 280,375, and we're going to divide this by 20,000. 283.75, do it on your calculator, divided by 20,000 is going to get us $14.02. That's the overhead cost per unit for extra fine. if I take 297,875, we divide that by 100,000, it should be 2.97875, which is the same as 2.98. That's the overhead cost per unit. So now they're saying, okay, well, what's your direct material and direct labor cost for each of those, and then let's add the overhead in. So if we looked up here just a little bit farther, I think we have to go back up to this. It says that direct material and labor for extra fine was $6. Direct labor and material for family style was $5. So we've got $6 here. And once you add in the 1402, we get a total cost per case for extra fine. This is $5. And then once we add in the 298, basically those numbers are just coming from here. 298 to there, 1402 to there. You see where I got the 6 and 5. They talk about it right here in this paragraph. It tells us how much the direct material and direct labor cost. So now we have a total cost per case for extra fine and a total cost per case for the family style of 2002 and 798 respectively. Okay, 2002 and 798 respectively. So now it comes down and it says, okay, well, if the market price is $18 per case of extra fine and $9 per case for family style, then are we going to make a profit or a loss? And now we're kind of getting back down to that nitty-gritty thing again. So again, it's $20. How much was it? $20 and, oh gosh, it drives me crazy when it does that stuff. $20.02 for extra fine, and we're selling it for $18. Okay, plus 18 minus 20.02 looks like we're operating at a loss, right? Extra fine, if we do it based on activity-based costing, extra fine is now at a loss. Family style, we sell for $9 per case, but it only cost us, gotta get there, it only is costing us $7.98 per case. Okay, so $9, if I do $9 minus the $7.98, it says that we should actually be making a profit then of $1.02 per case. Completely the opposite of what we were seeing when we did plant-wide, and it's because we have refined our cost analysis. We've broken those activities down into their appropriate pools so that we could just get much more detailed cost information out of that. Make sure you hit check my work so that everything has hit right. Just make sure you don't have any blanks. Everything says that your answer is complete and correct. And that will conclude our group or practice work for Chapter 17.